Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunshine Coast Chamber Alliance Roundtable event, brought to you in partnership with Sunshine Coast Council and Regional Development Australia. So much in our lives is different in 2010 to anything we've experienced in our lifetimes, and it has meant we have had to adapt to so much, which of course includes how we do business. It has also meant we've had to rethink the delivery of our annual Sunshine Coast Chamber Alliance breakfast event where we celebrate small business. We may not be able to replicate the palpable energy of 400 business people connecting over breakfast with their business colleagues, but our intent is certainly with this year's webinar event to capture the same heart and passion as we connect you with 3 inspiring business leaders. I know some of you may be thriving through the current situation. Some of you may just be surviving, and some of you will be somewhere in between. I would like to assure you that wherever you and your business are on that scale right now, you are not alone. There is such a wonderfully connected business community in this great region. It is more important than ever that we connect. The Sunshine Coast Chamber Alliance executive team is in regular communication with our regional and political business leaders so that we can understand what you're experiencing and together we can find solutions. This afternoon we are once again led by the fabulous and engaging Kim McCosker, who will help our wonderful guests who are all Sunshine Coast Business Awards winners of 2019. They will share their stories of the challenges they have faced and the adaptations they have had to make in these changing circumstances to hold their businesses afloat. I hope that hearing their stories gives you some inspiration, maybe some relatable ideas for your business, and most of all, a sense of connection to like-minded business people. So sit back and enjoy the afternoon, and I wish you and your business all the best.
And how you come to being on the Sunshine Coast.
I'm a 40-year veteran of the kitchen. 40 years. I started a long time ago, and I have lived and worked all over the world. I, at one stage, had 5 or 6 restaurants at one time and have slowly started to wean myself off them. I've always said to people that as my kids finished school, I got rid of a restaurant, and I've been true to that. I'm now left with Noosa Beach House as my only restaurant. The Sunshine Coast. Well, I was in Sydney, ran a restaurant called Flying Fish, in partnership with another person. That partnership fell apart, and I remember walking into my backyard in Bondi thinking, well, what do I do now? And my phone rang. I was standing on my grass, and this American guy said, hey, we've just bought a hotel in Noosa. We need a new restaurant. We'd like you to come and have a look at it.
Really?
So that was 8 years ago, and I was standing there. It was winter, and I was thinking, wow, yeah, this is cool. It was actually, and so I came up and had a look, and it was the Sheraton in those days. Mm-hmm. And they just said, look, there's a bar and restaurant here. What would you like to do? We've seen what you do in Fiji. We see what you do in Samoa. Come and have a look. So I jumped at it. They didn't know that I had nothing else. I did have 2 restaurants in Fiji at the same time, but I had nothing in Sydney.
Were they also called the Beach House in Fiji? The
no, Flying Fish.
Oh, Flying Fish, Sydney, and then Fiji.
And then I had Aggie Grays in Samoa, and then I had another Flying Fish in Tokariki Island. So, but they were all in partnerships with hotels, because in my, previous, I guess, if I take it back to 1979 when I walked into my first apprenticeship job, as I walked over the threshold, many things went through my head. I want to be an executive chef in a hotel. I want to travel the world. I want to, do many things. I own my own restaurant and all of that. And I managed to be able to tick those off. So I had a decent experience and started working with hotels. And working with hotels gives you an amazing and broad scope, I guess, and also coverage. If you work for Starwood or Accor or one of the big groups, work with them, then they have a marketing machine and a way to make money in business that I think as a standalone, I know I'll speak for personal experience, as a standalone restaurant anywhere in Australia to crack double-digit profits is virtually impossible. But when you start working with hotels and you have the backing of that massive company behind you, their accounting, their marketing, and everything else, things start to fall into line and you start to understand a lot more. So to be invited into another hotel was great. I commuted until one day I had an argument with a taxi driver in Sydney, which you do every day when you get into a taxi in Sydney, because I lived in Zetland, which was only 5 minutes from the airport. And so the guys would be lining up for 2 hours, get bored, get angry with me. So I just said to Karen one day, that's it, we're going. And 2 weeks later, we drove everything up, rented the house, and then sold it eventually and moved here. So been here 8 years, love it. Opened on last weekend.
Wow.
Noosa Food and Wine was the first day we opened 8 years ago.
Which of course would have been last weekend, had
Yes.
everything, been going to plan.
Yes.
8 years. So had you been to the Sunshine Coast prior?
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so. I'm one of those, I've been lucky enough to work and have restaurants always by the sea. So that was the first attraction. It's another seaside place, holiday destination. My first thought and the first thing I said to this guy, can't remember his name, an American guy, I said to him, the one thing I want to do when I come to Noosa is look after the locals first. And I think that's such an important thing when you're in a little town. My goal was to ensure that we made sure that the locals in this town and around us felt like that was their restaurant. The tourists come and go, we love them, obviously, because that's what makes a holiday town. But our locals sustained us over the quiet periods. And that really has been my motto day one, look after the locals.
I think I might just be adopting it too. Look after the locals first.
Yes.
So Deb, how long? So 8 years?
Yep.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Glad you saw the light,
I
Peter.
did.
Deb, what about you? In Noosa Magazine, wow, the publishing industry. Tumultuous times at the moment.
Very interesting times for the media landscape, and survival of the fittest and the smartest. But I think media as a whole has been in trouble for some time. So, and that's what we're finding is coming out of the current environment, is that businesses and industries that have needed to address things for quite some time, it's a reckoning. It's a day of reckoning. It's not fun. But yeah, I grew up in Brisbane, so Sunshine Coast was always my backyard. As soon as you get your license, you come up for the weekend and kind of camp out wherever. But I moved up permanently in 2020. I was actually the marketing manager at Mauritius Council.
2020?
Oh, sorry, 2000.
2000. Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and one of the first things I did was actually a white paper on the amalgamation of the 3 councils, which is quite interesting to see.
So
when
you have a
marketing
background.
Yeah, I studied journalism, but I pretty quickly got into PR and strategic comms and PR marketing. So reputation, brand relationships, worked on some really great clients down in Brisbane, launched the international airport down there. We used to run all the issues management as well for the airport, and I used to always be in the incident room. Even when I worked up here for Unity Water, it was always in the incident room. And I think I found that really hard when this hit, is that I'm normally there, in the incident room going, right, how are we going to spin this? What messages? Who do we need to? And I had no control. It was just happening, and I'm used to being a problem solver and trying to, so it was quite interesting. But so I came up in 2020, went back to Brisbane for a little while, 2000. Went back to Brisbane for a little while, had my son who just turned 11 on the weekend. And then, we came back up for good again in 2007.
So tell me, how old is In Noosa Magazine?
So In Noosa Magazine will be 6 in September. 6
in September.
Yes.
And it's a glossing, for those who may not have seen a copy, for those of us who live in Colombia, what does it look like? It's a lovely stylized lifestyle.
Yeah, so
magazine.
it really came out of, when I came back up to Noosa, I got quite involved with the Slow Food Noosa community and Noosa Biosphere, and I just felt that Noosa had a brand issue. And a lot of people didn't really understand the stories that weren't being told about Noosa. So I was working a lot with the producers and the restaurants and artists and entrepreneurs, and I just felt like everybody had this perception of Noosa, which wasn't right. So I wanted to address that and to connect all these different communities. So the best way to do that is through storytelling, and so that's really why I started the magazine. I never never thought, oh, I want to be a publisher or have my magazine that's so glamorous. It's not glamorous.
Can I add though?
Yes,
you just asked
please.
what the magazine's like. I think it's got an amazing touch and feel to it, even the paper you use, and the whole. You know, it is Noosa, but it's also it's not glossy and shiny. It's a little bit dulled down and has a real authentic feel to it.
Yeah. So from the start, I had to reflect the Noosa. I guess I was trying to build the Noosa brand, and so from the start it was. And I've bought a lot of media, and I've advised a lot of clients what media to buy. So I came from it from that point of view. What would make this a compelling investment for businesses, because I know how difficult it is for them, to spend money, and they need to see an ROI on that and be part of something. So it was actually about building a community. So we started with the stock, and so researched a lot to find the right eco-accredited uncoated stock. So it's not glossy, but it is a lifestyle magazine.
Okay.
And then started with finding the right people. So we had a local voice. So, Matt Galinsky is our food writer.
Yeah.
Katrina is our beauty writer. Tony Cox is our wine writer. Like people who bring their own tribes and authenticity. And that to me was really, really important. So making sure that it had the right content, that it engaged with people in the right way and connected them all. Because I find, you're right, the businesses that really look after the locals, they're the ones that are smart, but I guess also the benefit that we have and what I find from our readers is the tourists that come to Noosa and to the Sunshine Coast, they want to live like a local as well. So our magazine has really become a trusted resource for them. I have people ring me from Sydney and Melbourne going, dear, we've just booked our flights. We're coming up. Are you doing any events? What's open? What should we go to when we're here? We're here from this date to that date. And that just is so great. Yeah.
So how have they found you? Do you have a database?
So we've always had a digital copy of the magazine as well. It's always been available online. It's hugely read online because I think people have that connection to that sense of place.
Is it free?
It's free, of course.
Okay, there you go, everybody. Subscribe.
It's yes, and then we do a free weekly e-newsletter as well. And then our social media channels, which we've just grown quite organically. And the magazine, we print, 13,000 a quarter.
Okay, 13. So it's a quarterly issue?
Yeah, quarterly. So each season, in summer and autumn, we do 15,000. Summer, obviously, it's busier. And autumn, we are quite heavily partnered with Noosa Eat and Drink Festival. And we really support local events, more so than just, and I've worked on sponsorships before where it's like, we'll do a story, you've got to put our logo there, you've got to give us credit. We're not interested in that. We actually work really closely even with the producers of Noosa Alive on what their program looks like and how can we tease it out. And I'll be ringing them, 2 or 3 weeks before the event to say, what tickets do you need us to push? What shows, you've got to clear and stuff like that. So really actually connecting community.
Oh, dude, the passion is contagious. It's, I'm subscribing. So Naomi, Concept Labs.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Concept Labs.
Concept Labs was started by my parents in 1998.
1998.
So we just turned 22. Yeah, last month. So, and we've grown quite a lot since then. So we've had only a couple of products in our portfolio back then, and using different manufacturers for our product range. We've now brought all our manufacturing in-house, so we manufacture all our own products here in Warana. So, and hand sanitizer being the product of the month. Order of
the world. And when you say you manufacture all products, are you just talking hand sanitizers?
No, we manufacture hand sanitizers. We've got a full range of industrial cleaners, so disinfectant, floor cleaner, antibacterial sprays, bleach. There's quite a lot in that industrial range. We've got aloe vera gels. We've got creams. We do a lot of contract manufacturing.
As in sunscreen?
Yeah, we've got sun creams in our range as well. Yeah, so we've got a full range of sunscreen products.
80 products. Okay, so
we have got a portfolio of around 80 products that we manufacture.
Based in Warana.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 months ago, you're awarded our export, you know, and then fast forward 6 months, how has business been at Concept Labs
Very
as
crazy.
a local germ buster? We have you know, manufacturer of hand sanitizer
Yeah.
and bleachers and cleaning products, which have been topical.
all gone. Yeah. So
We've seen the
we've got-
supermarket shelves that are laid bare.
Yeah, hand wash. So we've got your general hand and body wash and liquid soaps as well. So they've been going really well. But yeah, 6 months ago when we won the award, we had eight employees. We've now got 34
Wow,
that we've
that's so good.
grown. So yeah, we're putting on 4 to
Wow,
5
that
a
is
week at the
rap-
moment.
Well, how many?
Wow.
4 to 5 new employees a week at the moment.
That is rapid growth, and how has the business
Extremely.
absorbed that? I mean, that comes with a lot of challenges
It
as
does.
well. Who's doing the HR?
Revolving door. Between the hours of 11 and 1 a.m. But yeah, it is challenging. So we've including the staff, I have put on new admin staff to help as well. But the HR is all a bit of a learning curve for all of us. Adding new production lines, sourcing equipment, sourcing packaging when there's global shortages of everything, raw material. Yeah, it's been a lot of challenges.
So Naomi, that's about a 300% increase in
Correct.
staff. Does that sort of reflect the
Correct. Yeah. So
increase in
our sales turnover last month was just over 300% increase on last year.
300%
Congratulations.
increase?
Yeah,
Isn't
that's
that
great.
fabulous
Yeah, it is
to
good.
hear?
So yeah, it's been crazy times, and we do foresee it growing. It's just given us I guess the kick and the edge to continue going forward. So the agreements and the contracts that we've got in place are long term. So we've got
So sorry,
contracts-
when you say long term,
Yeah.
who have you got long term agreements with? Like, are they government contracts?
Correct.
or-
We've got a few government supply contracts at the moment for the whole of Queensland government. That's for the next 12 months supply, and that's going to all different departments, every department basically. We've got education, transport. Yeah, there's a lot that we've been shipping to
Wow.
our communities.
I mean, imagine education, every school, every
Mm.
classroom, every tuck shop, I mean, that would be just
Yeah.
massive.
A dream and a nightmare at the same
Yeah.
time.
Oxymoron.
Oh, what a great problem to have. Yeah, what a great
But I guess your challenge is going to be so that this period of time isn't just a blip, isn't
Correct,
abnormal.
yeah.
It's like, how do you make this situation your new normal? So
Yeah, there is a lot of shift in the marketplace as well with people wanting to buy Australian made. So our products are obviously all
Yeah.
Australian made and owned. The hand sanitizer, for example, a lot of the hand sanitizer and cleaning space is all, a lot has been imported. And I guess with China shutting down for so long, people have realised how much does actually come out of China.
Yes.
So a lot of our distributors are now saying, look, I've got a lot of customers on board that only want Australian made now. They're continuing that supply. The other thing that will help us ongoing is that the people using hand sanitizer has become the normal. It's a new habit now. So the kids have got it in their school bags, you've got it in their car, you've got it in all the offices and everything. The office places now, a lot of them have just said, look, I've identified a gap with it. Now it's just continuing to be ordered with their other consumables, their soaps and toilet paper. They're just ordering hand sanitizer to continue. So I can see it continuing to grow. I'm not sure if I want it to continue at the same level it's currently at, but a more sustainable where
So
Yeah.
can I ask a question?
yeah, please.
So in our business, labour is the big thing, right? And obviously, it was looking cheaper to get something from overseas than it was here. I heard this crazy story that Norwegian fish is shipped across the world to be filleted and then sent back to be sold in Norway.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens with air miles and stuff, and it still works out cheaper. So my question is, how are you going to fit into that? I mean, I'm the same. I'll finish by saying the new menu that I'm going to write is going to be as much Australian as possible.
Thank
And
you,
we've got
Peter.
we've got so much produce here, and
Yeah.
I think we're all starting to realise, but it is a challenge, right?
it is, yeah,
It is a challenge to be
absolutely.
competitive.
It is. So a lot we're trying to get, at the moment we're very manual labour because it's hard to get the machinery and everything that we need. So that's just an ongoing concern that we will be looking into and growing. But yeah, labour, it's just a matter of being more automated. We still need
People.
still need people,
Yeah.
and that is sustaining, but it's just not in our business model to be importing products
That's
or
good.
to doing any of
I
that.
think
So
everyone's
we
gonna
wanna
be
keep all our
looking at-
manufacturing
Yeah.
onshore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
to be able to have that story, I guess, behind it does help.
100%.
People are willing to pay that little bit more for Australian made because a lot of people understand that same situation now.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that, that we are isolated Australia, same as New Zealand. We are these little islands in the middle of nowhere, but in times like this, we're the first to react. We have this, this natural sunlight, this natural beauty. I think Australian made is going to carry probably a little bit more
Yeah.
weight than maybe it ever has previously.
And touching on that, and with slow food, we work a lot with local producers and great restaurants like Peter's who are champions of that whole slow food movement, which is about good, clean, fair food and using local and seasonal as much as you can. And I've just been involved with Eat Local Noosa, which was set up originally because there was a lot of fishmongers who didn't have customer channels and all the restaurants were closed and Easter was coming and they were kind of stuck with all of this seafood that they couldn't, and then there's food wastage, not to mention all of the loss of income and all of that type of stuff. So it kind of came around and we got involved, and it's about kind of connecting consumers with who's open and talking to a lot of the producers who are listed on there. They've never had better relationships with the restaurants than now, because they are looking for, okay, who can we use locally? Where do we know we can get certainty of supply? So while the restaurants have actually been down, the producers have, really been up and in the spotlight.
Yeah, and the suppliers, like say Marcus Seafood, Marcus Food, you couldn't buy flour anywhere, but you could go there and get every type of flour because they were smart. Like, people have adjusted, so you've had to adjust in your way, but the people who've seen a downturn have cut that 25 kilo bag into 2 kilo bags, and people are turning up and buying it.
So are they, a wholesaler to restaurants, or are they like a
used
local?
to be, yes.
A local store.
So
where you
you're
can go and
finding-
take your own
No.
scoop of flour.
This is you order 25
kilos,
kilos of flour, and your main dry stores come from there. They're just in Noosaville, in the junction, or in Noosaville, but they've had to, I was having a chat to them yesterday, buying some flour to make my sourdough, which everyone's making at the moment. And
banana bread, apparently.
and they've just switched. I think this whole thing is about being able to, what was somebody said? Pivot, that's the word, And you do, and it's actually, even though it's hard and a lot of people are struggling, and I don't think we can ever discount how much some people are hurting, to be able to pivot is actually quite exciting. It's actually.
Well, speaking of struggling, I have the questions are starting to fly in, but one of the first from Melinda Dines, who I know very well, but Mel, I was thinking exactly the same thing, touche, is to Peter and all the panel really. How has, from being awarded the best business on the Sunshine Coast in November, 6 months later, how has COVID-19 affected you?
Personally, or within the well, okay, personally.
Well, I guess you are the business in a way, so.
The close down was hard and very sudden.
So what date did you close down? Can you remember? Around that March 23,
yes,
or
it just the whole hotel shut down.
Yeah, so literally we were watching the Prime Minister on the Sunday night, and bang, it was all gone to ground. We've all gone to ground on the Monday.
Yeah, and we'd stocked up in case we had to go into contingency, in case we had people. So there was a lot of food. It took 3 or 4 days to actually wind that down. And, during that time too, and during this period, a lot of that food from other suppliers, Simon George and, a few others, have actually made care packages which have been dropped off to some of the teams as well. So the people who are really hurting, and I have to give the Sofitel management, Mark Wilkinson and that team there, they've been, if you go into the hotel, you think, what have you done? But over this 3 months, their management, HR, caring for people, making sure that everyone in the team is okay, has been a massive job. And so the change was phenomenal. The change was, I hate the word, but it's unprecedented is the only word for it. How it's affected, so and it just shut down. That was it. So for me, it's been 4 months, not a cent. has come through our doors. And so we were into our household, into our bank account. So we were 4 months ago, 3.5 months ago, okay, I had a lot of business overseas, the restaurant, good relations with the hotel, everything was going fine. And then it shuts down. So we were okay, and we have been okay, and we've managed to, you know, like everybody else, speak to your bank manager, do all the rest of it.
Yep.
And in the back of my mind, I'm a very cautious person. So I don't have a fancy car, and I don't have a massive mortgage, and all of those.
Okay, so you had savings for a rainy day.
Always. And I think we were talking before. I've had a few ups and downs, and I've learned from that. And so, yeah, we were okay. Personally, it's been amazing for me. And I know, again, and I don't want to be flippant about it, because I know that some people out there have not had a great time sitting at home with whoever they've been had to sit home
But no,
with.
the question's about you.
About me, well, it's been amazing. My 3 sons are at home. One's 21, the other's 19. The 19-year-old should be on a plane now heading to Paris today. So his plans are gone.
21, 19, and
And
what's
14.
the age? And
So the
lucky you have a lot of
14-year-old
excess food.
Well, I'll tell you what. And okay, so firstly, personal relationships have been amazing. We've all reconnected. You know, the jobs in the house have been divvied out. We're all big enough. The 14-year-old tells us all to shut up because he's studying during the day. So we have to, you know, mind that. At dinner time, I was saying to Deb, at dinner time, he asks the questions that he wants to. We all sit at the table together and we talk about his schoolwork and everything else. So pretty amazing. I haven't not travelled for 14 years. This is the first time that I haven't been overseas on a business trip every 6 to 8 weeks in 14 years.
Wow.
So that's amazing. And Karen and I, my wife and I, are still talking to each other, which is
Yeah.
also very hard. But it's been pretty good. I'm very handy. I got my 3 vintage motorcycles going. I built a deck. I've gone through a massive list of building works and construction works and houseworks, and but family building time has been amazing. It's getting to the stage now where we really need to start thinking about where the next dollar is going to come from, because the people overseas that do owe us money in the countries that I work can't send money to us. It's all been frozen. India, Sri Lanka, they cannot give us money. So even if we were owed money from 3 months prior, we've had nothing.
Okay, so this is money, revenue streams coming from other activities outside of the Noosa Beach House.
I have a few.
So, well, that's been a blessing really as well.
But then
isn't it?
there's nothing. It's totally 100%
Okay,
dried
right.
up.
But that will come when...
It should, yeah,
Okay.
it should. But you can't travel for a year, right?
Yeah.
So, going back into the restaurant, which, we kind of...
That's a question. When?
Yes, well, looking at the restaurant only at stage 2, and probably we'll just work the front bar, and we'll have a menu, maybe Thursday to Sunday. We haven't quite decided what. It's going to have to be a minimal team, because everyone's on job keeper, but no one can work too many hours.
Yeah.
But we'll slowly build up, and we look forward to getting back to when we can welcome people back in. Until then, I'll be working a lot, but I'm actually looking forward to it. Even though I've enjoyed so much time at home, I am enjoying getting back into what I do. I moved the dining table out of the space, which is about as big as this room. I've put in a portable kitchen, and I have a camp table with my office chair, and that's where every morning I wake up at about 5 in the morning, I work, and I'm trying to and conceptualizing where next.
Yeah.
So I spend the first 2 or 3 hours doing the sourdough. Then,
Yeah.
and then after that, I will probably spend 2 or 3 hours actually coming up with new ideas, new concepts, contacting people, looking across the world and talking to all my contacts.
That's what we've got to do, isn't it? As COVID-19, as the fog begins to lift, how are we going to bounce? How are we going to...
Don't wait till it lifts is my advice. You need to be... Because when it lifts, all of a sudden, even now, right now, there are opportunities coming up in our business, in the food business. Lots of opportunities where people are going to change in the way they think and in the way they do business. And so if you can grab one of those opportunities, like yourself, I think if you can change your mindset and if you can be ready to, pivot, you will do very well. People who just think it's going to go back to normal are in for a big surprise.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I just think we need to be checked.
So no
Flexible.
bookings at Noosa Beach House until June 16th at this point.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that'll be 20 people.
20 people.
And then from there we go to the whole hotel opening, which is in July. And the thing is, you think about that the bones of that building, to fire it up is a very expensive
Because what are the
operation.
covers? How many does that restaurant seat?
Well, we did on a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday night. We always did over 100 to 120. The bar would go through 500 to 600 people through the day, sometimes more. The revenue that churned through that place was significant, and to have it instantly drop not only affects me, obviously, affects the hotel who I'm partners with, and it's it's a big hit.
Yeah.
It's a very big hit, and it's.
Well, it's a hit that the whole Sunshine Coast, I mean,
Yes.
we are still, we've got great health industries, aviation, we've got lots of more industries compared to a decade ago, but our tourism, our hospitality is still very much the backbone of.
And accommodation.
Yeah.
My goodness,
The
accommodation
and the
is
depth of
struggling.
it is just, you can't get your head around it. It's so far-reaching.
Hastings Street had a meeting today just to be COVID safe, to be COVID compliant. So, do every person that's renting out their house understand what is necessary, how to
Well,
disinfect
this will
the
be the
house.
new normal afterwards. This is right.
Exactly, so that's where you guys come in.
We need a concept lab, little care package for everybody.
I think Hastings Street will probably end up with sanitising stations all the way along. The whole cleaning companies all over will be booming because
interesting.
we have to clean every time someone touches a menu. We need to discard it or clean it down.
This might be a good thing that comes out of it. The germs, Pardon?
Flu season won't be as
Flu season, who knows? Actually, speaking of your products, I've got here a question from Valentina to you, Naomi. Is the container for hand sanitizer recyclable or biodegradable?
They're recyclable.
They're recyclable?
Yeah. So,
And is that all your products?
a large majority of them. The sunscreens are a little bit difficult because they have to be TGA approved packaging. But we do have a larger 15-litre hand sanitizer where a lot of workplaces are using to decant because there is a global shortage of the pumps. I've been told 4 to 6 months before I can get the pumps mechanism in them.
So there's pumps that just sit on your...
Yeah, correct. So your desktop ones. So instead of throwing them out, we're working with a lot of companies that will reuse, just re-top up those desktop ones.
So 22 years ago, Mum and Dad lived already on the Sunshine Coast?
Yes, we came, sorry. No, they came here in 96. So yes, they did. They started the business here.
And they saw a need. Dad was a scientist?
No, Dad was a salesperson.
Yeah, great.
So Dad was a salesman. He sold a lot of other people's products and they had difficulty in keeping up supply. So a lot of the manufacturers would tell him he'd sell all the products through and then say, oh, sorry, no, we don't have that product. You can only have this amount. You can only have that amount. So
he knew there was a demand.
He said to Mum, we need and we're positioned, his motto has been since the start, budget, price, premium, quality. So that's where we position ourselves in the market. So our products are predominantly workplace health and safety. So a lot in mining, schools, childcare and industry. And that's where, our products have fitted. So same quality as anything else, we just try to base.
So before someone texts me and asks me, where do we buy her products?
Yeah,
we're on the Sunshine Coast. If we want to support Concept Labs,
correct.
So this is called the Ultra Germ Buster.
Yep.
Where do we go to buy this?
Whiteside GA stores on the Sunshine Coast.
Whiteside GA stores. Okay, so there's 5 of those from Peregian to Baringa. So,
And Bye Bye and Mount Coolum.
Yeah.
And Lula. So White stock our full range of products for hand sanitizer, insect repellent, sunscreens.
Insect
gel.
repellent. So, okay, what's the name of your insect repellent?
So
That'll be another question.
Insect repellent is red-eyed gotcha.
Oh, red-eye gotcha.
Tropical, yeah, available in your aerosol and pump and roll-ons.
What was your first product? What was the very first product that
The very first product they did was sunscreen.
Sunscreen.
Yeah.
And was it called Concept Labs from the get-go?
Our sunscreen is Ultra Protect. The
Got
company
something
is
in my
always
car.
There you go.
Thanks for shopping locally.
Yes, it is. So yeah, it's always been Concept Labs.
Oh, okay. I've got another question that's coming from Sarah McIntosh. This is one for all of you, but we'll start with you, Deb. What do you see in store for your business in the next 6 to 12 months?
We're in hibernation at the moment. We
Yep.
just launched our autumn edition. We actually had a launch party on the 13th
With you
of
and your
March.
husband?
Oh,
Prior.
no, all of our clients and supporters. So we had about 150 people there.
Oh, wow.
And it was the weekend after that, like basically the Saturday, we were just sitting there going, oh, okay. Like we had that launch party last night and hopefully nobody, so yeah, because I think it hit home because that was the same night the Premier was still going to the Cowboys Broncos match and all that type of stuff. So then we spent the next 2 weeks distributing the mag, and when we do that, we kind of go around and hand it to every local business. So I just said to my team, spend more time just talking to everybody, all the business owners, they just wanted to talk.
Yeah.
They were feeling so, and this was before anything shut down, but they were just feeling really scared and nervous. And so it was really great for us to be able to have those conversations with them. And then when the shutdown came, it was pretty, it was immediate, wasn't it? It was very swift, and I pretty much then we all spent that week just on the phone to clients, just talking to them, and they just wanted to talk. And so we initially just told them straight away, look, we won't be having a winter edition because a lot of them are under contract, so they just needed that, uncertainty taken away. So unless everything changes dramatically as it happened, we won't be having a winter edition, so we would be in production right now, probably at the printers for our winter edition, and we'll just see how we go for September. But we do have a lot of clients who are keen to keep their brand active and to let people know that they're still open for business and what they're offering.
Yeah.
So our digital channels, I mean, same as Peter, no money. We've got no money. I've had to let my team go, and just it was really tough. Like talking to the clients was really hard because trying to put on a happy face for them, but just thinking about every single person that I know and love, and that carpet's been ripped out from underneath them. So when the market is ready, the last thing we're going to do is try to pressure people into advertising.
And these people would have been cafe owners, restaurant owners, accommodation
the whole
providers.
Eat and drink, so food and beverage, fashions, very big, homewares, lifestyle, artists, a lot of events. Yeah, so pretty much everyone, day spas, beauty technicians, all of that type of thing. So very broad network, and pretty much every
lifestyle.
I was looking through the magazine,
Lifestyle.
every page
Yeah,
was just like,
lifestyle.
but they're coming back.
Yes.
And we've been, like I said, we've just been keeping in touch with them and just supporting them.
And I just saw, for everyone watching who is in the hospitality industry here on the Sunshine Coast, please share a post that was put up today by VSC, Visit Sunshine Coast, and it's a small survey, and it's asking the hotels, the lifestyle providers, the cafes, the restaurants, etc., to fill in a short survey. I started doing it and then went, I don't actually think this is for me, and then started tagging everybody I knew. But basically what they want to know if you're open. They want to start advertising what the Sunshine Coast region is doing, what's open, what's happening. So if you know anyone, please spread the word. VSC, it's a little survey, and we want to get the word. They want to help. They're here to help, which is really good. Yeah. So what I guess as well, like, for you, we were just talking about the challenge is to maintain the phenomenal growth that you have had. So just going back to the lovely Sarah McIntosh's question, what do you see in store for the next 6? Like if you've had growth in, from 8 to 34 employees in a few months, Do you
Yeah.
think that's, or are you kind of at a level you think that?
No, it's not enough. I'm
Right.
being told I need more and more.
So would you like to make publicly a resume call? Oh my God, no, you'll be
my
swamped.
inbox is going to be full. Yeah, there's quite a few positions that we're still advertising for. One of which I'm going to put on a new sales. Up to date, I did all the sales as well. So we're going to put on a new salesperson as well to look after that. And I guess again, try to capitalise on that situation. Whilst at the moment I don't have to do much to sell the product. It's a hand sanitizer and they buy it. I want to start building the sales to the brand and the product specific, and then so that is continued to be maintained and ongoing.
So in a couple of dot points, as a brand, what are your Australian made?
Yeah, Australian made. Our hand sanitizer we use a sustainably sourced bioethanol. So at the moment, our ethanol is coming from Bundaberg Distilleries.
Oh, right, great.
Yeah,
Bundaberg
so that's
rum.
really exciting.
Oh, well, you don't
Yes,
that
Bundaberg
exciting, but
It sounded it.
It's extremely exciting because Bundaberg partnered with Queensland Government. They donated over 100,000 litres
Yeah.
of ethanol
Wow.
to the Queensland Government.
And so how did they put it, did you have to ask for some of that, or did the government know
we
you?
approached it, yeah. So they put out, our federal government set up a personal protective equipment task force. So they basically contacted anyone that could help with PPE. So face masks was the big one, and hand sanitizer was the other one. So we registered with that, but we also work with a lot of, we've been working with Austrade, TIQ, Sunshine Coast Council, all the government agencies. We're all well aware of who we are and what we do, and we're also calling out for help as well because there was that shortage of ethanol that a lot of governments secured. So, and then Queensland Government just basically asked, they had 3 manufacturers that manufacture for them that donated ethanol.
Yeah.
So that's, but we've developed an ongoing relationship with Bundaberg Distilleries.
So who keeps across, in your business, who keeps across all of that inbound information, like all that government? Because
that's all me.
that's all you. So it's your mum, your dad and yourself? Is there anyone else?
my
Any other
husband.
siblings?
My husband is the operations manager.
Okay.
Yeah, Dad's pretty semi-retired. He's not doing too much more in the business now.
I bet he just came out of it.
No, we've had him in, he was doing quite a bit more before COVID, but given his age, we've kept him in isolation. Just given an increase in staff and everything on the floor as well. He's back into it. Mum's doing longer hours than what I am, so she's there before everyone, she leaves after everyone. And, we've added extra shifts, so she does allow, I guess, behind the scenes purchasing,
Operations.
Yeah, so all that. But
I've got a question from Olivia Sainsbury, who is the CEO of the Caloundra Chamber of Commerce. What is the biggest learning from the past couple of months? Like if we were to go back to you, Peter, and you just said it's always good to have a little bit of, income, money tucked away for a rainy day. Like that's one thing to note.
I think learnings I've always had from experiences. I've never had an experience like this, but bad times, is that you need to be mentally ready for that, because it's not always going to be sunny, and you need to really have my train of thought is things can go wrong, and I'll deal with it when it comes.
Yeah.
But I'll still go to bed and have a good night's sleep. I don't let it bother me, because it's pointless.
Yeah.
It really is pointless sitting at home thinking, what if this happens? So I think, and that's easy to say, I guess. I've been a confident person. I've gone through lots of stuff, but all the way through, I've always thought there's an end. You just have to focus on that, and whatever troubles and trials are put in there, just make you stronger. That strength will assist you on the next stage. So yeah, I think you can't expect this to happen. Look, there's a gentleman called Merrill J. Fernando. He turned 90 last week. He owns Dilmah.
Oh yeah, which you are an international ambassador.
Yeah, so I called him when this all happened and just said, look, here we are. And he said to me, there was a question in the paperwork that was sent to us that said, is there a business person that you really look up to? And I want to mention him because he said to me, and he took calls from hundreds of people And he's 90 years old and he wants to talk to people. A lot of other people have just disappeared, you know, and I think you can really tell the leaders and the quality of human beings by how they deal with some of these really bad crises. And, you know, there's people who've reacted in many different ways. He said to me, I knew something like this was coming up, always been prepared for it. He's still maintaining the livelihoods of up to 10,000 people.
At 90.
Well, I mean, Dilma now is a massive business.
But is he based in Sri Lanka? That's the headquarters of Dilma.
Yeah, he and his 2 sons run it. And, you know, he's won, what's the award from Oslo? A Nobel Prize for business and all these things. And at the same time, he gives so much of his money away. And it's an incredible business model and an incredible model in life to think that we can go about our business and we may make a lot of money and we may lose a lot of money, but along the way, if you can be a good human being, I think everything will come out even. Even I think if I had to do tomorrow, it wouldn't be easy, but I could go and live in a tent with my family tomorrow, and I don't have a problem with it because I think, and I don't regret what I've had, and I don't look forward to what I'm going to get. I just try and appreciate it and be nice to people, I think, and especially in bad times.
I think your point there, the thing that I took out of that is, as a leader, be accessible.
100%.
Be accessible.
100%. And even if you're stressing, like I've had a few days, like probably 3 or 4 days ago, I had a bit of a meltdown in the house, and it was more about people, not the other members of the family, not appreciating that I'm working my butt off, whether it's to make sourdough or whether it's cooking every day or cleaning up when they don't or whatever, but just saying, let's just respect each other a little bit more. Let's just understand each other a bit more, work together, because I came from a family household of 22 people in Sri Lanka. It was my father and his 3 siblings and all their kids in this massive compound with 4 houses. Oh my God, it would be Christmas every day. 200 and 365-year-old was a main house. And so all my family were born, lived and died in that house. My father was the one who missed out because he wanted to stay here, but everybody else died in that house, were born in that house. And that sense of community, which we can foster in the Sunshine Coast in a very similar way, is just look after each other. It's not hard. It's not hard. You know, one of the things I noticed when I came here, which was amazing, we've got 2 sets of traffic lights in Noosa. The traffic light turns red on the turn and there'll be someone there who's not concentrating. No one beeps. You just wait. It's like, we've got time. Or you let people in, or, you know, and that...
Don't sweat the small stuff. What's it
correct. And that philosophy should be taken into the big stuff too. Can I just go back to one thing with this? We budgeted, like crazy budgeted. So all of a sudden, we've got no money coming in. We have to budget. Before, I didn't think about it. Buying a steak now, I was like, Jesus, what does steak cost? You know, like
how much marbling's in that? You're looking at it differently, aren't you?
Totally differently. But one of the things, you said you had bulk packs. Now we only buy bulk packs. We only decant. We've still got our original pumps from 5 years ago. Less waste, more economical, and it just makes sense. So I think in this change, we've all
learn to go back to the good old-fashioned values.
Yeah, you do.
Deb, I've got a really good. So this is from Addie O'Rourke, who owns they own a business in Moffat Beach called Groundskeeper Willie, and
yes, I know of it. It's great.
Great. And she says, what are your suggestions for the Sunshine Coast to continue to build its brand while our borders are shut? Obviously, broad question, I know, but, you know, with your marketing ideas.
I think you've just got to really focus on the good bits and stay true. And that's what I was going to say to Peters and to even, you know, how can we all get through this? Stay connected, but be authentic. So don't suddenly, you know, and the Gold Coast has come out with what they're doing for their campaign, and that's fine because that's for them. But be true to your brand and use it as a really good opportunity to build on that. So, you know, I think domestic tourism, the Sunshine Coast region has a really great standing already. And, you know, we have beautiful open spaces, we have beautiful beaches. And so I think when people are going to come here, they're going to actually explore it a bit more. They're not just going to come up for a quick holiday and it's all going to be madness and then they're going to go back to their normal lives, because nothing's ever normal again anymore. And as Peter said, people are starting to reconnect with each other as well. So they want more meaningful and more authentic experiences. And, you know, I guess we all have that fear that this might be our last holiday, you know, because of the, well, you know, the shutdowns, or, you know, where people used to save up their big holiday experiences for overseas. So you think about it, you go over to Italy, you pay to do a cooking class over there. Why wouldn't you pay to do a cooking class here? So you can still have amazing experiences. You'll do a cycling tour through France or wherever. Do one here. We have it all here. And I think the local businesses, it's a really great opportunity for them to, again, like really engage with the locals, so the locals can feel like they're holidaying at home. And everybody's looking through everything through fresh eyes. So just know, what is it that about your business that you think has been special? We all started our businesses because we saw a need and something that wasn't being met. So just go back to that. What made it special to you that, you know, you got so super excited about, and communicate that back to people again, because you might feel like you always say that and people should know that
repetition is your reputation.
And consistency. So
Consistency, bang.
And you know, that's an
the
interesting
best.
thing too. I was talking to Simon Latchford, who's the CEO of Visit Sunshine Coast, and he said that there are 9 million Australians who will not depart Australia on a scheduled flight this year. Now, if of that, a chunk stayed local, you know, checked into a local hotel, bought a coffee from a local cafe, went out to dinner locally, booked a tour, bought a bunch of flowers locally, shopped at the stores, you know, all that discretionary spending that a family does. It would make a massive
staycation. If you live on the beach, go out to the hinterland. If you already live in the hinterland, come and stay on the beach for
That question was asked today on the news. I just caught it, so I'm probably going to misquote it, but the figures of what we spend overseas, could it be 60 billion?
It's mind-blowing.
There's 9 million people.
When people come to Australia, they spend about 58 billion. So we're there. Just use those spending dollars to come.
Get that circular economy happening.
Sunshine Coast is very desirable already. You said that, but we have to make sure that when people come here, that we give them a good time and we don't rip them off, and we make sure that they're getting, as you said, an authentic experience as well. Look, there's next 6 months. I think it can only get better.
Well, it will get better when we all help each other. And I think that has been a very clear message, you know, today from the three of you. So, you know, I would like to, I know that we are, and we haven't got to everyone's questions. So I'm really sad about that. But, you know, please check into the Sunshine Coast Chamber Alliance Facebook page. This will be published live. You can ask more questions there. Please tag any of the speakers. You know, I'm sorry, Beverly, Exley, you know, Peter, that she wanted to know the percentage split of local, interstate, intrastate, overseas customers pre-COVID and moving forward.
I can nearly quote it. We had probably in the restaurant bookings in the hotel, from people from the hotel were about 35%. So that meant most of those people were travellers from overseas interstate. And then the rest were lots of locals, but also people staying in other hotels. So I would say 70% of the people who came were from somewhere else. But when and this is a real local thing, because when it's busy in our areas, the locals stay away. So when summer and all those busy periods, you come for a surf at 5 a.m, then you get the hell out of Hastings Street. That's going to change, and I think the locals are going to start to enjoy it. So it will switch. I think we'll still be busy slowly. As I said, people are struggling. There are lots of people who don't have money and don't have money to spend, discretionary money. But as that changes, I think I'm really happy to welcome all the locals from all
and
over
I think,
Australia.
you know, look at the four of us. We represent the entire expanse of the sun, tip to bottom of the Sunshine Coast. And I am looking forward, and this is, I've been following VSC. Who knew there was a glasshouse plantation that you could visit that was open, that had a farmhouse? You know, who knew there was this amazing waterfall called Whopper Falls? I'm saying to my sons, where's that? And on our doorstep, discover what's on your doorstep. I think that's the message, you know. And I mean, your quote, look after the locals first. You communicate with authenticity. What brought you to the Sunshine Coast? What had you invest here? And your whole Australian made, you know, support local. I mean, that's been a really, you know, amazing theme. So I want to thank you, our three panelists today. We have learnt so many different things, but probably one, that I wrote that encompasses all is that business isn't for the faint of heart. It is for the brave, the patient, and the persistent. God give us all strength.
And the crazy as well.
That's the entrepreneurial flair amongst all of us, probably. But that is why the Sunshine Coast is proudly being coined as the entrepreneurial capital of Australia. So it's a crown we wear with pride. But Peter, Naomi, and Deb, thank you so very much. Just a couple more before we head off here as well. And thank you also very much for your participation and the flow of questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them. But Sonia, I want to just do a shout out to Sonia, who is the founder and owner of Balance Boardrooms, where we sit today. Please follow Balance Boardrooms on Facebook too. It's a really creative space. You can't see it all, but there are 2 separate setups available. It is in the heart of Maroochydore, multi-camera, professional sound, ideal for everything from a team Zoom call to an all-day live stream training session, podcast studio, film studio. Oh my gosh, this is just one to bank in your memory for a later date. To today's very generous sponsors, RDA, Regional Development Australia, based at the Contiki building in Maroochydore. They are always so generous for events like this and committed to creating an innovative, dynamic, connected and sustainable Sunshine Coast. And to our very own and ever supportive Sunshine Coast Council, whose vision is to be Australia's most sustainable region, healthy, smart and creative. And finally, it would be remiss of me not to thank the indefatigable Leanne Layfield. Yes, the Sunshine Coast, we all know the emails have been flying all week, but who every year in a volunteer capacity, along with the other volunteers of the Alliance, pulls this together. Volunteers don't necessarily have the time, but they sure have the heart, and we are very, very appreciative of all that you do. So, COVID kindness, I guess we're just going to leave you with this parting thought. If everyone tomorrow wakes up and goes and buys a coffee, collectively we will inject $3.2 million into our economy. Hereforth, as the fog lifts and as we all start to rebound and bounce, think local. Wherever you can, put down eBay and shop locally, support local, start to follow those restaurants you've wanted, start to follow BSC, get involved, because, I think that together we can build a more connected and inclusive community, and they, I think, are probably the 2 biggest pillars of a strong community, and that is what I believe we have here on the Sunshine Coast. Very blessed. So thank you all for your participation and your registration today. Stay safe, be kind, and we look forward to catching up with you all on the decks of the Noosa Beach House in the Peter's shout like cut now before you get say no. Bye everybody. Thanks so much. See you soon. Thanks for being so generous.